So we come to the only issue left for you to decide whether, in your opinion, they are guilty or innocent of a crime. I want to point out to you a case which offers parallels to this one. A case which affected the character of American history some 200 years ago. The defendant was a printer, Peter Zanger by name. He was accused of seditious libel. Andrew Hamilton, the defending lawyer, spoke the following words in the course of the trial, and it seems to me that they're a point here. He said, and I quote, "Jurors are to see with their own eyes, hear with their own ears, and to make use of their conscience and understanding in judging of their lives, liberties, and understanding and estates of their fellow subjects." Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is what we are asking you to do.
You are urging the jury to make a decision on the basis of conscience. This morning in chambers I said to you, if you attempt to do this, the court will interrupt you to tell the jury their duty. The jury may not decide this case on the basis of conscience. The jury will decide this case solely on the basis of facts presented in this courtroom by both sides.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all the peaceful acts of the defendants, all the words, writings, marching, fasting, demonstrating over a period of some years have failed to change a single American decision in Vietnam. Failed even momentarily to slow the unnatural, senseless destruction of men and women and children, including the destruction of our own sons and daughters. A destruction of our own sons and daughters. A destruction wrought in the name of a policy that passes all human understanding. Perhaps, in the last analysis, this cataclysm of our times can be understood only in the lives of a few people who for one moment stand naked before the horrified gaze of their fellow people. I am appealing to you, as I imagine Andrew Hamilton appealed to his jury, to consider all of the facts.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are to consider all the facts of the law. The law does not recognize religious conviction, or some higher law is justification for the commission of a crime, no matter how good the motive may be. The law does not permit jurors to be governed by sympathy, prejudice, or public opinion. You are judges of the facts. Your sole duty is to ascertain the truth. The jury may now begin their deliberations. Now, does either the prosecution or the defense wish to take exception to any of the rulings of this court?
Your Honor, the defendants have requested to be permitted to speak frankly and openly with the court.
I want to hear the defendants. I do not want to cut them off for anything they may wish to say.
Your Honor, after burning the files, we waited for 15 minutes until police came to give public witness to what we did. You have sent the jury out to judge merely whether we committed the acts which we admitted from the beginning we had committed. If it's only a question of whether we committed this act or not, we feel it would be better if the jury is dismissed. We can save ourselves a lot of time by receiving an immediate sentence from you.
It is quite true that I have not submitted to the jury a question you would like to have submitted in a way that you would like. But the law limits me in that regard. If you've gone to Catonsville and taken one token file under some arrangement, you might have had something to argue. But you went out and burned 378 files, according to your admission. And every one of you, I think, said that you did it in order to hinder the operation of the draft. I'm not questioning the morality of what you did. But people who violate the law in order to make a point must expect to be punished.
Honor, we are not arguing for a purely legal standpoint.
My question is, Your Honor, concerning conscience, did you tell the jury that they could not act according to their conscience?
I said this to the defense. If you attempt to argue that the jury has the power to decide this case on the basis of conscience, the court will interrupt to tell the jury of their duty.
But was the jury told they could not use their conscience in determining the truth?
I certainly did not tell them they could disregard their oath and let you off on sympathy, or because they thought you were sincere people. I do not mind saying that this is the first time the question of conscience has been raised in this court.
Your Honor, we are having great difficulty in trying to adjust to the atmosphere of a court from which the world is excluded. And the events that brought us here are excluded deliberately by the charge to the jury.
They were not excluded. The
May I
question,
continue?
well, you say they were excluded.
They were. Our moral passion was excluded. It is as though we were subjects of an autopsy. We were being dismembered by people who wondered whether or not we had a soul. We are sure that we have a soul. It is our soul that brought us here. It is our soul that got us in trouble. It is our conception of humanity. But our moral passion is banished from this court. It is as though the legal process were an autopsy.
Well, I cannot match your poetic language. You made your points understand very persuasively, Father Berrigan. I admire you as a poet, but I think you simply do not understand the function of the court.
I'm sure that is correct, Your Honor.
You admitted that you went to Catonsville with a purpose that requires conviction. You wrote your purpose down in advance. Now I happen to have a job where I'm bound by oath to office. Not only oath of office, but a long tradition of the law, in which we in the United States are very proud. We are very proud of our Constitution. We are proud of the rights that people have under it. If you had done this thing in many countries, you would not be standing here today. You would have been in your coffins long ago. Now, no one is going to draw and quarter you, but you may be convicted by this jury. And if you are, I certainly propose that you give every opportunity to say what you want.
Your Honor, you speak very movingly of your understanding of what it is to be a judge. I wish to ask whether or not reverence for the law does not also require a judge to interpret and adjust the law to the needs of the people here and now. I believe that no tradition can remain a dead inheritance. It is a living inheritance which we must continue to offer to the living. And isn't it possible to include in the law certain important questions of conscience, to include them nonetheless, and thereby to bring the tradition to life again for the sake of the people?
Well, I think there are two answers to that. You speak to me as a man and as a judge. As a man, I would be a very funny sort if I were not moved by your sincerity on the stand and by your views. I agree with you completely as a person. We can never accomplish what we would like to accomplish or give a better life to people if we're going to keep spending so much money on war. But it is very unfortunate. The issue of war cannot be presented as sharply as you would like. The basic principle of our law is that we do things in an orderly fashion. People cannot take the law into their own hands.
Your Honor, does that include the President of the United States?
Of course, the President of the United States must obey the law.
He hasn't.
Well, the President of the United States has not obeyed the law. There's very little we can do. Except not to re-elect him.
Your Honor, you have referred to the war question as one which may be either political or legal. Suppose it were considered as a question of life and death. Could that be appropriately raised here?
Well, again, that is poetic speech. I'm not sure what the legal proposition is. I understand why it seems like a matter of life and death to you. Of course, war is a matter of life and death to all the folks who fight in it. And it's a matter of life and death to the people of Vietnam.
Your Honor, I think you said previously that you had a great deal of respect for the law and the Constitution of the United States. I would like to call that respect into question if you are unwilling to do anything about a war which is in violation of our legal tradition and the United States Constitution.
Well, I understand your point. But I cannot point you either my legal or my spiritual advisor.
We have people from the peace movement here. Will you allow them to file a brief in your court calling into question the entire Vietnam War? And will you be willing to review the charge in its entirety? Whatever decision you make, Your Honor, can then be submitted to the Supreme Court.
But you must have a case.
You have to break the law first.
You must have a case that can be brought into court.
Well, you have to break the law, it seems that. Before you can get a judge to face the situation, you have to break the law, as Martin Luther King found out.
If you had gotten legal advice, I'm sure you would have been advised that there are better ways to raise the question than the way you were raised the case.
Your Honor, one question. I have been called an honest and a just man in this courtroom. I appreciate that. But the reality is that I leave this room in chains and I'm taken back to prison. How do you explain this?
Good character is not a defense for breaking the law. That's the only way.
Your Honor, I think we would be less than honest with you if we did not restate our attitude. Simply, we have lost confidence in the institutions of the country, including the courts and our own churches. I think this has been a rational process on our part. We have come to our conclusion slowly and painfully. We have lost confidence because we do not believe any longer that these institutions are reformable. They are unable to provide the type of change that justice calls for. This has occurred because the law is no longer serving the needs of the people, which is a pretty good definition of morality.
I can understand how you feel. I think the only difference between us is that I believe the institutions can do what you believe they cannot do.
Our question remains, how much time is left this country, this magnificent, frantic, insane nation empire to which God has entrusted so much of the future of humankind? That is the question we are concerned with, human survival.
I assure you, I'm concerned about your question selfishly, for my grandchildren, as well as for everyone else's. It's a serious thing.
But, Your Honor, change could come if only one judge would go on the war. If one judge could make up his mind, the war could not continue as it does.
I think you misunderstand the organization of the United States. One judge ruling on it would not end the war. Each judge must do the best with what comes before him.
We want to thank you, Your Honor. I speak for the others, but we do not want the edge taken off what we have tried to say by any implication that we are seeking mercy in this court. We welcome the rigors of this court. Our intention in appearing here after Catonsville was to be useful to the poor of the world, to the black people of the world and of our own country, and to those in our prisons who have no voice. We do not wish that primary blade of intention to be homing down to no edge at all by a gentleman's agreement, whereby you agree with us and we with you. We do not agree with you, and we thank you.
All right.
Could we finish with a prayer? Would that be against your wishes? We would like to recite the Our Father with our friends.
I will be glad to hear from the government's counsel on her advice. I will be glad to hear from the government's counsel on her advice.
The government has no objection, and in fact, rather welcomes the idea.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory of yours, now and forever.
Breathe out, breathe in, 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 breathe out, breathe in. Breathe out, I breathe in. I breathe in peace when I breathe out. I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. Breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul.
The next song is Light a Candle for Peace, and we know the song.
Light a candle for peace, light a candle for love, light a candle that shines all the way around the world. Light a candle for me, light a candle for you, that our wish for world peace will one day come true. Sing peace around the world. 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 Light a candle for peace, light a candle for love, light a candle that shines all the way around the world. Light a candle for me, light a candle for you, that our wish for world peace will one day come true. Dip, dip and swing, dip, dip and swing, dip, dip and swing, dip, dip and swing. My paddle's keen and bright,
The taking of the verdict in criminal action number 28111, the United States of America against Philip Berrigan, Daniel Berrigan, Thomas Lewis, David Darst, John Hogan, Marjorie Melville, Thomas Melville, George Meesh, and Mary Moylan. Members of the jury, what say you? Is the defendant John Hogan guilty of the matters whereof he stands indicted? We find John Hogan guilty. Members of the jury, what say you? Is the defendant Marjorie Melville guilty? We find Marjorie Melville guilty. Members of the jury, what say you? Is the defendant Thomas Melville guilty? We find Thomas Melville guilty. We find David Darst guilty. We find Mary Moylan guilty. We find Philip Berrigan guilty. We find Daniel Berrigan guilty. We find Thomas Lewis guilty. We find George Meesh guilty.
Now, is there anything further that the government or the defendants would brought to the attention of this court?
No, we would like to simply thank you, Your Honor. We agree that this is the greatest day of our lives.
Viva la revolution!
Hello, my name is Giancarlo Campagna, and I am the project director of Theater of the Dedicated. And we are putting on the trial of the Catonsville 9, and I am playing Daniel Berrigan in the play. The reason that I am doing this play and that I am a part of it is to help promote peace, contemplation of peace in our times, to also encourage youth around their discernment about U.S. foreign policy and domestic policy, and how our youth are encouraged to seek the option of military service as their livelihood, and we feel that that is something that is not life-affirming whatsoever. So we have this play that encourages another way of looking at the world. It encourages peace work and what peace workers do to address the suffering and in that it is in the world created by war and by policies that create war. We want our youth to find new models in their lives, and I am so proud to be a part of this production. Enjoy this production, and thank you very much.